Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. What's the date? The 18th. Monday the 18th. And we got an, well, I always say we got an interesting setup, but man. Okay, I will show you the charts. Well, as you can already see, the S&P 500 is up super big. Where is, there you are. There you are. Kind of a little light on volume. Anyways, so let's just go back to Friday. So Friday, they started out selling. They had a pretty good sell, but then in the end, they kind of, they came up and they went and took out our target, 28.50. Everything's all cool, right? Then in the overnight session, some really strong uptrend. And I mean, man, really strong uptrend. And now here, just in the last hour, up massive, 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 massive. Now, this is a little bit of a retracement from the hard sell last week. So we got to keep that context in mind. But, and I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of attempted explanations for why things are so positive this morning over on CNBC and so forth. But I don't know if they really make sense to me. I don't know if that really gives me a really great explanation of it. You know what I mean? Did we have any news here? Let's just check. No. It is a Canadian bank holiday today. What is the holiday? Victoria Day. What is Victoria Day? Well, we're going to have to ask John about that. Anyways, treasuries down a little bit. Just a little bit. Oil up big. Oil may be one of the drivers here. I don't know. What about gold? Gold taking a huge hit. What about our spreads? Well, I'm not seeing any flattening. They're still steepening, in fact. Or what about our books over here? ZB is bid. Oh, they're all bid. Yeah. I don't know, guys. It seems kind of overdone to me. I have a really hard time jumping on this rally. Really, really hard time jumping on this rally. X-Man says, good morning, how are you? Anthony. Oh yeah, we should check Bitcoin. Bitcoin 96.55. What's with that? My Bitcoin chart is kind of all funky. They are still moving up. What the hell? This is so weird. This is so weird. Oh yes. Let's check that we don't have some, maybe there's something that we need to like flip over, right? Oh, let's move this market analyzer over here. Database management, no. Nothing to roll over. I don't know what's with my Bitcoin chart. Okay, so there was a really big push up there. Okay, cool. Now we got chat over here. Twitter. White House economic advisor Hasser asked about Huawei. Tensions are high with China now, and the U.S. is watching things closely. Fed has responded aggressively, probably will not have to do much more with interest rates if we become confident we have already hit the bottom. Hazard speaking, is that why the market is moving? This is incredibly strong trend we're seeing. I have a really hard time justifying this move. Well, sometimes it moves, and we don't have to touch it. Donald Trump tweeting a bunch of protests and stuff. Administration stands ready to take more coronavirus spending action if needed, but final product will not look like House Democrats' plan. Moderna shares surged 30% after reporting positive data on early stage coronavirus vaccine trial. World Health Organization's Tedros pledges transparency and accountability on pandemic handling, says the world doesn't need another organization, but must strengthen the World Health Organization. Moderna expects to begin final stage coronavirus vaccine in July. This is why the market is rallying. This must be that. Well, I don't think you want to stand in front of the market and a potential vaccine, do you? That's got to be why they're moving then the past hour. I don't know about this last little move up, but that's got to be why the futures are up. It's got to be it. The market really cares about anything. You got to remember that a lot of the big players are in Democrat cities, and they're of the opinion that things really can't move forward until there is a vaccine. So to them, reports of a vaccine are very important. Now that said, I am seeing the book in the 10-year flip around a lot. Well, they're hitting into lows. I guess that would be expected. It's not quite flowing through the way that I would expect, though. And the equities are coming back a little bit. I'll be interested to see if we call this a pullback. They come below 29.20. The thing we got to remember, even though it's really positive news, this is a really monster move ahead of the open, and with a move that strong, there's going to be a really high risk. Let's say, I don't want to say possibility, but high risk of overextension and collapse. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to trade this, to be honest. I mean, you might have to just go long, but like the risk reward situation here going long doesn't really line up. Well, let's change the title of the stream. Markets up big on vaccine trial. Oh, you know what? So I've been looking over here. I'm thinking I want to add something onto this chart over here. Just for fun. We have this thing that I really, no, it's not on there. Really like on my other chart called where is it? Trailing stop. Trailing stop. Let's put that on there and see what we get. Oh, that's way too far. I don't think that's quite what we want. Oh, it's on the 1 minute chart. Let's try putting it on the 1 range chart and see what happens. Tighter multiplier, maybe? Aha. Three. Yeah. I think that's what I want. That was the default, right? 3.5 and 5. If I do a 5, it's, I think, a little too tight. Well, we'll try it. I'm noticing that the book isn't really holding stuff. I guess there was some absorption up there. Let's come back to our here we go. Okay. To our footprint. Oh, I can't read that. Hold on. Yellow is not a very good color to use when there's going to be white text. $67. So there is more volume this hour than last. Oh, this is not using the right trading hours. See me. There we go. So that it's on the 30s. There we go. So I can see there was a little bit of absorption at 21. Then we slipped higher. curious. Talk about a move. This is difficult trade because I mean, look at the 10-year. I mean, they're at the lows. There's no reason that they can't go lower, but it's not really giving you any kind of real setup. Like, they're not really trading it. This market has moved. I think you're getting, I don't know. Donald Trump tweeting, reopen our country, transition to greatness. Is that what we're going to do? Is that going to be the, what is the word? The messaging focus? What do we got here for the VIX? VIX is down big time. Down below. Oh, I can't see. And since I changed my chart, this moved down there. I don't know, guys. So here's the issue. One of the issues that I've been seeing right now that bothers me. So my wife, she is a flight attendant. She has been on maternity leave, which, thanks to the bill in Congress, actually qualifies for unemployment benefits because she's on maternity leave. But I digress. So she doesn't have to go back to work until like September or something like that. But they're saying that they're going to have to lay off part of their workforce, her company. Now she works for a regional airline. It's not as bad as some of the larger airlines. I'm hearing that SkyWest is gonna lay off like 80% of their workforce or something like that. Like, the layoffs that are coming into some of those airlines is tremendous. But for whatever reason, they're not doing it until the end of the summer, which I don't understand, but maybe it's just a seasonality thing. And then, you got people on unemployment that eventually the benefits are going to run out. I see a ticking time bomb. Same thing goes on housing. I'm hearing that in housing, that some of the banks are kind of tightening up their lending standards, and it's going to be much harder to buy a house. Housing prices probably are not in line with where they should be. They probably should come down more. And that's probably what's going to happen. And that's going to come, that's going to be a problem when that hits the market. StockTwits retweets ban on short selling in France and Spain ends. So I just see a market that's moving up, and a bunch of like really ugly looking things coming in the future that the market is completely ignoring, is kind of how I see it right now. So to see a rally that strong, again, it's not like it is just equalizing from where we were on the 12th. What was that, Wednesday? Tuesday. Beginning of last week. So it might not mean anything, but you definitely don't want to get in front of a marketing a vaccine. Germany's foreign minister says June 15th is the day on which we will decide if we will lift the general travel warning. Chinese President Xi Jinping said his government would spend $2 billion fighting the coronavirus pandemic around the world, particularly in Africa, of course, because that's where all of your investments are. Ooh, I mean, it hasn't really hit Africa yet, has it?
HEXMAN says our syndicates are negotiating to let go thousands flight attendants.
Oh man, our syndicates. Somebody has to pay.
HEXMAN
right?
says 3 weeks ago they were saying it will be only the ground staff. Now they are prospecting with the airline crew.
Oh yeah, I mean, pilots are going to get hit. It's going to be. I mean, the way that it works is interesting though, because like there's seniority and performance and all of these sorts of things. My wife thinks that it's highly unlikely that she would get laid off, but it is a possibility. That's a little scary to her because she's put a lot into that career, you know. And if all of a sudden she can't do that career, then finding a replacement career would be a big transition. Okay, well, the Treasury's popped back up.
HEXMAN says yes, but each ting we are changing planes. 1 pilot get out, 2 get in.
Wow, the front page Washington Post headline reads, "A boost in tests, but lack of takers. We have done a great job on ventilators, testing, and everything else. We were left little by Obama. Over 11 million tests and going up fast, more than all countries in the world combined." Yeah, gold kind of bottom there too. And I can see that the 6E kind of stopped as well. So we might get a market turn here. Huawei says new U.S. sanctions put its survival at stake. Well, then don't put spy stuff in your
HEXMAN says our French states decided to help us, but we have to fly green, changing old planes like 380.
Yeah, my wife was in the process of moving to new planes. They were like what, ERJs, moving over to ERJs. They're small planes that they do. I think they've gotten rid of all of the turboprop jets though.
HEXMAN says new planes, more pilots.
Pilotes. Pilots. It's a replacement career. Probably not. I don't know. Like, here's the thing that's so it's a real paradox in trading. It seems to me that some of the people that
HEXMAN says for us, the old cabin crew like myself, bye-bye.
Seems to me that some of the people that are best equipped to trade are the people that are going to be the least interested in doing it. That person that is really super level-headed and risk, not, I don't want to say risk adverse, but has a good approach to risk. They know when they can take risks and when they should hold off, and these sorts of things. It's not so interesting to them. I think that a lot of the people that are attracted to trading, they kind of get a rush from it, or something like that. So and that in that it makes you not suited to trading. You know what I mean? It's like your desire to trade has a much bigger effect than anything else because it's so hard you have to stick with it, even if you were naturally good at it. So I guess in the end, it doesn't matter if you have um, attributes that might make you better suited to trading because we all kind of suck at it anyways. But no, I don't think that she would end up trading. I'm not quite sure what she would do. I mean, we've been doing okay without her. Well, we were doing okay when she wasn't working, so there's that. Um, but the difficult thing is that being a flight attendant was very flexible with the kids and everything like that. I'm not so sure that there's many other jobs where she could do that, unless it was like a work from home sort of a thing, you know? So I don't know. I could make her trade and she could trade well in the daytime because certainly the amount of time that you're online makes a big difference. Brannigan Barrett tweets, here is an idea for you to ponder. Why is the German 10-year debt at negative 70 basis points when it shares liabilities of Greece, Italy, Spain, and Portugal? Well, it's the same reason that Apple will go to $400 before year-end. Tech stocks with strong balance sheets will become safe havens of equity markets. Oh. So big companies with a good sheet, they can't put their stuff into yield. This is super interesting, right? Because normally treasuries is the safe haven. And it was for a long time until the Federal Reserve did their emergency rate changes. And then ever since then, nobody wants to touch it. Like the liquidity in them is gone, the activity level is much less. And so instead, they're going into stocks that happen to be overweighted in the index. And so then the index pushes everything up. I don't know. There's this thing like um we can explain why it's going up, but it's not the way that the market is supposed to work, right? Hmm. Where is point of control? All the way down at 28.92. They haven't traded more than 28.92. That's interesting. Well, it definitely looks like consolidation at the very least. Maybe we see spreads come down. No, that's not what I'm seeing. Huh. Steepening. This move in treasuries, I'm not sure it makes sense. That's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. The spreads don't seem to be in line with a risk-on environment. Euro USD runs higher, extends narrow range. It did move higher. Looks like the gold is taking another dive. And the treasuries took another lower low. Well, if we really wanted to trade this in treasuries, I think they could get pretty far. Ooh. Okay. Okay. We're getting a little bit of range extension, or what do we to say, price discovery type action going on in ES here. They're threatening that high again. There you go. The difficult thing about this is that the equity reaction to this news of a drug trial, I think there's a really high probability that they're going to overreact to it. Like, do we know? I don't know, how long is the trial supposed to go for? When would the vaccine be ready? You know, uh, let's try and answer some of these questions while we're seeing it going here. But you know that the market doesn't care about any of that, right? They're just they just hear vaccine and they're gonna buy. And let's see here. Each participant received 25 microgram, 100 microgram, or 250 microgram at day 43. 2 weeks following the second dose, levels of binding antibodies in the 25 microgram group were at levels generally seen in blood samples from people who recovered from the disease. Phase 1 data, while early, demonstrate that it elicits an immune response. Okay. The company says it expects to begin a phase 3 trial in July. If it is found to be effective and safe to use, it could be ready for the market in early 2021, the company said, which is when we were expecting to see a vaccine anyways. Ugh. All right. Well, good, strong move up and completely pulling back now. Oh, yes. Forgot. We need to update Jigsaw. Well, now's probably not the best time to do it. And of course, they come back up on me. The open of the hour is 29:27:25. Hmm. You know what I did not do was it's far away. Okay. Ugh. Those weren't even traded. Looking back at where we were earlier today in the 10-year. Let's just kind of put a couple of things in here. The ZB not loading today for some reason. Of course, and yes, they're gonna be like way back here, huh? Yeah. Zeta says Bun doesn't know where it wants to go. You can see the euro making another little move there. Let's just go down through the list. Euro trying to make it to another new high, not quite there yet. Gold still kind of taking its move down. What about oil? Oil's still rallying and at its highs. Treasury took a step lower, came back. I can see that on that last move down in the 10-year that a lot of bids pulled. Conversely, a lot of bids added NCB. So maybe they are trying to turn the spread down now.
Ferris Tyrov says good morning.
Hey, how are you? Good morning. It has been a quiet morning, but an eventful one in the markets. I'm sure that a lot of you guys are diligently at work, huh? Let's see here. Coronavirus cases in Iran increased by the most in 6 weeks. A little slip there. Equities getting a little slow. Trading floor audio tweeting about an article in The Atlantic. The pandemic geopolitical aftershocks are coming. Beyond the epidemiological challenges lies a slowly amassing threat that is not pathological in nature, but economic, political, and military. Yes. Very much. I agree. Okay, tick down. Stacking a little bit. 5-year trying to push it down. 10-year not quite going. 10-year being held back. 10-year being held back. They all went off there, though. Well, I understand why Trading Floor Audio would be tweeting that, right? Because essentially the end takeaway is that the economic outlook for the next 10 years is not incredibly rosy, even if we handle the pandemic well, because you're going to have a lot of debt, you're going to have a lot of companies that have to recover, and you're going to have geopolitical ramifications from all this. Well, that offer at 20 pulls a little bit too easily, but whatever. Yeah, look, they tick up with only 896. I'm gonna want to really try and hold this. E-mini's getting a little tight here. I bet you there's enough room for another move before the open, though. U.S. media routinely frames criticism of China from Donald Trump as a distraction from the administration response. Is the UN General Assembly a mega joint too? World Health Organization let the plague out over 100 countries to demand UN General Assembly probe. Ed Morrissey. Yeah, you guys, we don't really care what he says. He's not a market mover. Child abuse reports are coming down during the pandemic. Experts say that's a bad sign on CNN. What? Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Do you see a little bit of a change in the book in the treasuries going bid a little bit? That 20 is more than willing to trade. It is a Monday. I keep forgetting it's Monday. Like, I kind of look at a couple of things and I'm like, well, this seems kind of a little weird, especially with how the market's moving. But then I say, oh, yeah, it's Monday. Better to be out of the market wishing you were in than to be in the market wishing you were out. I shorted and did it for both oil and gas. Yeah. This is so tough because like really the amount that the S&P 500 moved, like just forget the fundamental news for a second. From a technical standpoint, the amount that we've moved creates high risk, and that doesn't mean a high probability, but a high risk of significant pullback because of how far it went. And your risk reward buying up here up at the high in the E-mini is not very good. But then you come back and you put the fundamental picture in and you say, okay, well, the market likes a vaccine. Like they straight up, they really care about a vaccine. So they're going to buy probably. no matter what. Even if it sounds to me like the trials that were announced don't really say anything about that we'll get a vaccine sooner than expected. It sounds like that they're still looking at early next year, which is what we were always told was a year after the initial outbreak. So like, it's not to me, it's not really news. But then, I don't know. HSBC warns that today's risk on is based on a selective approach to news. The bank suggests that 108 million people in northeast China are facing stricter lockdowns and is being overlooked. That's a very excellent point from Rand Squawk. I really like. Okay. It is a selective approach to news, but I think that we're talking about a behavioral what is the word that we're looking for? Inefficiency, a behavioral inefficiency in the markets. They care about the vaccine too much. Oh, there's my neighbor. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. All right. By the way, what industries are in northeast China? Can we find that? Images for map of China by industry. Oh, look at that. I like it. Show me a big picture, please. Okay, so it looks to me like it's a lot of auto manufacturing. Hmm. Hmm. Power. Oh, these aren't very good maps. Maybe we can get like an interactive map. sugar refining. Okay, a couple of clicks there. As some bids pulled. The E-mini having just a little slip there. Apple Incorporated shares up 1.6% pre-market after a company to reopen more than 25 U.S. stores this week. Let's see here. Seems like treasuries are holding this area fairly well. We're just talking in the equity indexes channel in Discord about the whole cure thing. What's this right here? Oof. Yeah, they're playing games at 20. I don't know if it's games per se, but I've seen a bunch of pulling there, both directions at 20 and the 10-year. All right. E-mini popping back up. Going to try and regain that 28 range. Lisa Abramowicz. I've never heard of this person. Fed has propped up corporate debt prices, but it won't prevent defaults and distress, marks. There are large, highly levered companies and investment vehicles that the government and Fed rescue program is not likely to reach and take care of. Article from Bloomberg. HSBC also notes that the market focuses on Fed Chair Powell's forecast of a recovery rather than his suggestion that it will take a long time. Yeah, okay, so this is an interesting point. So I remember seeing his comments on what, Saturday? And when I read the comments, my take was, oh wow, like he thinks that a recovery will take into next year, till the end of next year, that we won't really be truly recovered. And then we come out and I see the headlines today and they're saying, oh, Powell doesn't see a recession. They say Powell doesn't see a recession and that we'll recover. And I'm like, that was not what he said. What he said was kind of short-term bearish. What he said was it's going to take a really long time. I don't know. It is kind of weird, but then, hey, this vaccine, I kind of feel, I mean, obviously we kind of have to see how the action goes when the market opens, but I think if I was looking for a longer term play, that today would be a pop opportunity to sell, just based on my reading of the fundamental picture. And the fact that this move is just so big. So they're trying to start a rally there in the E-mini, and it's not happening. We got about a minute and a half to go here until the open. Well, they went bid at 0.2 Well, let's just take a quick inventory of everything. 6E, the euro moved a little bit higher there. 6J kind of still where it was, as are the treasuries. Gold took another dip lower. What about oil? Oil pulled back just a slight bit. Nothing significant. And then, of course, E-mini attempting to make a new high, did do a new high, and it's still kind of in pullback mode. Then treasuries, they made another tick. They ticked a few contracts into 01 in the 10-year, but since then we've been up like what, 4 ticks. Also, the VIX taking a pretty significant hit overnight as well, and will probably open up significantly lower. When can we safely ignore news events? Asks Forex Live. Let's read that story. Oh, I don't know. It just was a screenshot. Okay, so here's the open. Not a ton of volume on the open, actually. Okay. So on the open, they recover at least that little slip down that we had. Consolidation. The E-mini. Internals definitely all seem to support buyers. Giving them a little bit more fight than I would expect, but pushing through. Okay, so now they're pushing 30. Treasury's pretty calm and noticing that the E-mini is really kind of, so you can notice here they're trading back and forth in like 4 tick ranges. So it's actually somewhat of a choppy open. The cumulative delta is net long, but it's not incredibly, kind of depends on where you start counting from. Jigsaw says it's net long. Okay. Very choppy open. Yeah, honestly, given how bullish the pre-market was, I find it a little interesting that the open has been as choppy
Bot
as it
says, so
is.
what was your final decision last night on the work you did with the VIX range projection indicator?
Good question. I think, well, so here's the issue that I'm having a hard time dealing with is that I did see some interesting lines in the data that we could potentially use, but I didn't see the 50% line that we were using in there. And there's been some significant action in that area. I find it kind of interesting. It's almost like it only mattered because we were looking at it. I don't know. There's definitely been stop runs after it reaches that point. So there's got to be an algorithm out there looking at that. But the data seems to suggest that it's more complicated than that. So I kind of decided, I think that for now you should keep using the 50% one. But that we should, what we need to do is we need to make a new element, or maybe it would just be an indicator, but like, what if I could get that picture to show up in NinjaTrader and it would show you a little dot with a highlight and a line to show you where you are at. So when it opens, it would immediately start printing the dot and tell you, okay, this is what the VIX was. So this is the area of the chart that you're looking at. And now you can look at what has happened on days that had a similar VIX reading to decide where you think it's going to go. That would really give you the true picture, right? Is to just show it there and have your dot be a different color. So I think that's what I want to do. Okay, so 2 ticks down in the 10-year on about 800 contracts. So they just kind of pulled and moved it down, and there's a new low. And the E-mini is pushing up into the highs, as we kind of expected. There might be that kind of looked like a spot there, but it
Bot
was.
says calculated off prior close or current open.
Oh, I think you should continue to use current open. Especially, I mean, think about it, especially in a situation like this, because the VIX has come down significantly. If they were to reach yesterday's targets, like if they were to reach 100% target based on Friday's close, I think that's unlikely. There it is right there. Oh, come on. The Moderna phase 1 trial was only 45 people. Next phase should have 500 people, then thousands. Where they will have to wait months to see if the vaccine is effective or has negative side effects. Well, nice to hear it's too early to assume a quick recovery, says GovTrader. He's right, but I don't think that the market cares. Another thing that I think is driving things is that sorry. It seems to me that institutions don't really have a safe place to go, so they kind of want to get into markets anyways. So when you get a piece of good news like these vaccine trials, that just kind of exacerbates everything, right? Like they all got to jump in because they need to get in and get that performance before everybody else, even if the larger economic big picture is pretty bleak. Mm. Hmm. Well, the 10-year did drop there quite a bit. And they're still dropping. Whew.
Luis Alarid says new vaccine causing people to form antigens to COVID. If one has antigens already, does one have to be vaccinated?
I think that they would encourage you to do so anyways. But of course, the company that makes it is going to encourage you because the more people that take it, the more money they make. I saw a story on Friday that antibody tests in the Portland area indicate that the virus had been around in the United States much earlier than previously thought. And essentially that there was cases going around in Portland as early as December. And I got sick in December, late December, and we're kind of more West Coast. I think that this just is more evidence that I might have caught it. Do you guys remember when I was sick in the beginning of the year? It was really nasty. Well, my scalps, what is it? 2 winners, 2 losers, and a scratch. I'm happy with the scratch, though. The scratch, like, really worked out well, actually. See here. Yahoo Finance's story on Powell is more tepid, right? Recovery may begin by summer, will likely be slow. Okay, so maybe a slight pullback before they hit the 8 ticks there at 30. A little bit of a what do we call it? Iceberg at 30 half. The 5-year has a pretty strong offers placed on it. And you see those at like 19 and 18 3/4. It's not as strong in the 10-year. In the 10-year, there's a lot more orders looking to catch it down here. But then again, like if they blast through this or those pull, then ooh.
'Bot says my brother-in-law also got deathly sick in mid-December, said it was the worst flu cold he had ever experienced in his entire life. In hindsight, he now wonders if it wasn't COVID.
Yeah. Well, the thing with me is it wasn't just like it was a cold. It matched the symptoms of COVID exactly. It starts out with the sore throat and it's mostly a dry cough. Not really very runny nose or anything like that. The thing, I think it was a little deceptive because at first I thought, oh, it's no big deal. Like I just need to rest a little bit and it's just a cough. But then the cough like just don't go away. But then another thing is that I experienced post-viral inflammation from it. So
Bot
like,
says he had been spending time in Montreal, Quebec, a major travel hub for French Canadians.
okay. I don't know if that makes him more or less likely. I mean, if the original gateway was Portland, then it would make more sense if he had been traveling in the Northwest rather than in Quebec. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, like the whole thing with New York. Ugh. But they didn't get it in New York until much later. So I think everybody's kind of been assuming that it didn't come into the United States until it hit New York, but that hasn't been the case. But it's also becoming more clear to me that New York, their response was poor. I'm starting to come to the realization that New York's response was poor. That's why they've had so many deaths. Like this disastrous decision to send seniors back to the nursing homes, even though they had it. And most of the deaths
Bot
were in
says
senior
Quebec
homes.
has had one of the highest per capita infection rates in our country.
Yeah, well, I would expect that just based off of the population, Like denser population, it spreads faster. Okay, there's the mini. Looks like they want to go again. They ready for another round? I'm not.
RJ Wheel says
I'm not
one
ready.
of the highest.
One of the highest. But Quebec has by far the highest population density in Canada, right? So it's just like with New York. But
RJ
has
Wheel says French Canadians are suspicious of government.
Oh really? Oh, that's interesting.
Bot says no.
Oh,
RJ
Ontario was
Wheel
the
says
highest?
no. Ontario.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. What was I gonna say though? Oh yeah, but they haven't had like an
Bot says
usually
Ontario
high
has the
death rate
highest
though, do they?
population.
Well, actually, we can go and we can find, huh? We can look coronavirus dashboard.
RJ Wheel says Toronto is fourth largest city in North America.
How many deaths have they had? Oh, Canada's not even on the list here. Where are they? They must not have very many deaths. They must be like way down there. Okay. Oh yeah. So Quebec has the highest number of deaths with 3,000. Okay. Compared to the United States, you're getting down into like Michigan has 4,000 and then Texas has 1,000.
Bot says thumbs up at RJ Wheel.
They keep doing this like, oh, we're going to go for a new high. Oops. Sorry.
RJ Wheel says back at you.
I don't know if these. So I'm a little cautious about just buying it right here. Maybe at 35 might be okay. If I had some momentum going with me, but if I'm
Bot
looking
says
for a
yes, but
pullback,
remember Seth, Canada's entire population is less than California's.
yeah, that's true too. We need to go and calculate the death rate for them. Dang. Anyways, the thing though is that the stats that I'm looking at don't necessarily say that like a strong pullback is coming on or anything like that. I think that maybe they need another. Come on. Got a terrible spot on that one.
Bot says there are more police officers in Los Angeles than there are soldiers in the entire Canadian Army.
What, really? Man, where do people pull stats like that out of? Okay. See, like right here, it seems fine. It's not holding right.
RJ Wheel says our largest submarine is in a fountain pond in West Edmonton Mall.
What? Is it? I've never seen that. I've been to that mall, but I don't remember seeing a submarine. Come on. Right there.
Bot says lol. Bot says stats. Do you know what entity is the largest user of fuel in America?
What entity is the largest user of fuel? The military? I don't like us. I don't like them longs. I shouldn't have taken that. They're not.
RJ Wheel says Sean Hannity is my guess.
They seem to be absorbing on the bits. The book seems very imbalanced. I don't know if that's... I mean, we're definitely in pullback, but I'm still not getting like the... Like nothing's turned negative, for instance. I did get maybe a slightly more...
Luis Alarid says, I wonder if Los Angeles will mandate the vaccine and other cities won't, might have to move Utah?
Well, Utah definitely wouldn't do that. Unless Spencer Cox becomes governor or something like that in November. Damn. Well, my e-mini trades I'm trying to go long and it's just not time yet. Still haven't
Spot
learned
says
when
number
it's
1
safe
US
to
Army, number 2 UPS, number 3 Ryder.
Ryder. Who are they? Man, they're gonna go down to the open, huh? Okay. So there was a sweep there in the micros that I don't think happened there in the E-mini.
Bot says Union Pacific is the largest consumer of diesel fuel in the United States.
There you go. That one definitely makes sense. Now they're still selling. I think I'm picking the right spots, but I'm still figuring out when it's okay to take like a reversal of sorts. Well, that one worked. Okay. So it was hard for them to get back into the open. That's why I doubled up. A little bit too much fight there. Does look like I'm going to get it, but
RJ Wheel says used to be subs at Malseth. What years did you go?
Oh, it was a long, long time ago. It was probably like in the end of the 90s. Like, I think the water park in there was a new thing back then. Still kind of a little, I don't know. I wouldn't doubt that we get a new high today. Another new high today. But the tape is still a little finicky, isn't it? Especially right there. Ooh. That was a close one. That one was a lucky, lucky. I don't want to say a lucky guess, but a lucky trade. I didn't necessarily have like super great stuff showing me that I could get in there. And the way this is playing out, I think that at the moment the sellers have control. What about the 10-year? Came back. Let's take inventory of everything. They took a really good move down. They've pulled back about 4 ticks. The book hasn't appeared to change a whole lot. Overall, they're still bid like they've been all morning. 5 years still has a pretty big offer on it. There's a big order at 18.5 sitting there. E-minis pulled back and it appears to be looking to go and push up again, but I don't know. All of the internals look just kind of middle of the road. Gold continues to sell. Gold continues to sell pretty hard. 6J sold. Euro up, but in the pullback too, kind of along with the E-mini. And oil. Oil down from its highs about, a good 50 cents or so. And spreads. What about the spread? Spreads still appear to be steepening. I have my terminology correct? Yeah. Still steepening. E-mini, pretty good amount of volume at 28.29. Which I think is generally, given the context and everything, probably a bullish thing, but we'll see. There's kind of this low volume area here. They went up and kissed that low volume node and came back. New York Times, COVID-19 crisis forcing hospitals to the brink of bankruptcy after private insurance income halted. Hey, you know what? We never turned our lights on. It looks so drab in here. I have to walk over there and point it at it. Well, that's better. Well, equities not quite coming out bullish from that 28, 29 area yet. They're fighting it. Oh, I missed it. Oh, not there. Could maybe from a little bit back from there, but maybe if it gets through here. Sure. Okay. Not quite. Okay, so they're right at regular session VWAP. Not a huge fan of the prices it's given me. Yeah. You blink and you miss it. Hmm. Cool.
Luis Alarid says Kaiser Permanente workers cutting hours due to people losing jobs that pay for medical insurance.
What is the Permanente? They're an insurance company? Kaiser Permanente is an American integrated managed care consortium based in Oakland, California. A healthcare company. Well, I don't know what I think about this one. They're testing that open again. I think that the sellers really want to have their day. Maybe they let them have their little bit and go for the lows. We'll see.
Luis Alarid says Kaiser is huge in California hospital and clinics.
Okay. And if there's any place where the healthcare system might get, it has a risk of hospitals going bankrupt and so forth, it's California because there's a lot of people that aren't paying. I gotcha. Makes sense. Well, just looking at the tick, and the tick looks pretty tight. Tight. As does all of my other indicators. Really need to get the VIX. I'm wondering if I get VIX data, if I'll get put call ratio too. Brannigan Barrett, I don't know what the ESF cash chart means, but clearly the 200-day moving average is playing an interesting role in decision making. Gap up today should not be ignored. If we scale above 2960, it's game on for a short squeeze given aggressive shorts as per CFTC open interest. Hmm. So it's been choppy, and now, so I would say generally overall up. I mean, the buyers did question make a new high off of the open, but then they pulled back to about where we were, and now we've been chopping around a lot. And the open is at 29.27, and now here in about 3 minutes, we're going to have the counter trend time period. So if we develop a reversal,
Wonka says, how was the trading on Sierra chart? Last video I managed to catch you where testing it.
hey Wonka Tonking, you know what? I really do. I really should spend more time with Sierra charts, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. So one of the things that happened was I went in and I started making some of my order flow indicators in Sierra charts, and I could do it, but the amount of effort that you have to go through to make it in Sierra charts as opposed to Ninja Trader is like really quite silly. Like the framework that you have to work with, the methods that you can interface with, and so forth in Sierra charts, I just don't feel it was as well thought out. There's a lot of functions that are going to be common for people to do that really should be written for you, and they don't have. And so it's I think that kind of disheartened me a little bit, and so we haven't really messed with it a whole lot lately. It's getting hot in here. Okay, well, because I'm seeing maybe you could go long here, but because it's close to this counter trend time period, I don't think I want to mess with it. I had a good run there, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm still 2 trades down. Although I've got a winner in the in ZN, although my man, I sure wish we could have gotten 30. When I look at my larger time frame stuff, I think that, especially if the E-mini decides to move up, but that treasuries could move a lot further than they have. So we'll see, I guess.
Wonka Tonking says the code is hard. I can't code and need to pay someone to do it.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like it was impossible or anything. It was just like not as enjoyable. NinjaTrader definitely has a better framework. And that really is NinjaTrader's greatest strength. I really don't think that any of the other programming frameworks that I've seen out there, because I've also messed around with Quant Tower a little bit and with ThinkScript and with what is it that they PineScript from TradingView.
Wonka Tonking says I do like testing on the spreadsheet trading system. Great for backtest.
I haven't tried that. But yeah, I think that of all of those, NinjaTrader is a head and shoulders above the rest of them. It's a little probe of the open, but I don't know. Not really falling apart the way that shorts would probably like, huh? And I'm noticing that even the internals are having a really hard time getting any kind of a sell. I should go get some water. My leg is bouncing and I'm thirsty.
Wonka Tonking says are you jumping on the GSX bandwagon? They're going to crack down on these Chinese stock.
Okay. Let's see here. What's Wonka asking?
Wonka Tonking says, are you jumping on the GSX bandwagon? They're going to crack down on these Chinese stock.
Oh, I don't know what that is. It's a Chinese company, huh? Language schools. Okay. Okay. Well, higher high. Huh. Cool.
Wonka Tonking says, short seller dumping it, lawsuit starting for any investor that lost $25,000.
Really? That's interesting.
Wonka Tonking says, GSX shareholder alert, Faruqi and Faruqi, LLP encourages investors who suffered losses exceeding $50,000 in GSX TechEdu Inc. to contact the firm.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard anything about that. Let's see here. Is there any news we missed out here? An imperfect and evolving understanding is. Oh no, we read that one. UK Transport Minister says final details of UK quarantine scheme will be released early next month.
Wonka Tonking says, don't know if YouTube allow link.
Unfortunately, if you posted a link, I wouldn't be able to see it now. Moderators can post links, but not regular people. But it's okay. I don't really pay attention too much to individual stocks, unless they're like, well, I am kind of getting more into like having my watch list and seeing which sectors are doing well and which ones aren't and things like that. But especially when I'm trading, I don't really look at individual stocks because we trade the index futures, and so more interested in how the overall market is
Wonka
reacting
Tonking
to
says,
things.
oh dude, I am sick of trading this virus, jeez.
Yeah. Well, today is gonna be interesting how this turns out because I mean, normally the setup that we've got here is a very classic volume profile setup where there's a gap in the morning and they will try and fill the gap. There will be sellers that will try and fill the gap. And if they don't, then you tend to get a trend day. That's the market profile theory of things, at least. So they he talks about it. Jim Dalton talks about it in his book. So far, sellers have been trying. I would say that it was a fairly weak sell, but I'm not really seeing the buy come in. And
Wonka
all the
Tonking says,
internals
this week
kind of
kinda
middle of the
bussy,
road.
what do we have? Building report tomorrow, and few earning.
Yeah, well, and it's I think that we're getting into, hold on, what are the things that matter? I'm only looking at the day. Oh, why is all my filters messed up? There we go. Yeah, we got housing stuff. Get some PMIs on Thursday. It's a relatively light week. There is a lot of Fed speakers, though. That might have a little bit to do with why my treasury trade over there is going so well, because the equity markets still look risk on, and there's not a whole lot of economic news to look forward to. So What would be the reason to be buying the Treasury right now? The Federal Reserve is what's holding it up. Of course, who knows? If the Treasury's had a bigger dump, maybe more people would jump in for those new prices.
Wonkatonking says few Trump tweets, few virus number, we can all Lambo by Friday.
Ford resumes U.S. production and operations May 18th, which is today. I have to say, it has definitely been a quiet Monday. Chat has been pretty quiet. I wonder if it continues to chop until London close. I don't know. So I was thinking about that spot and it went up. I don't think that was actually a real signal. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Well, they came out of the 29 area and they're filling in this low volume node around 33. But they're not regaining 35 again yet. That's kind of the outlay here. There's a decent amount going through here now at just below 29.33. Huh. Looks really tight in the E-mini so far. Nope. Nope, nope, nope.
Luis Alarid says the markets were bumping before 930 Est green this morning.
Oh yeah, they moved pretty early on because of this vaccine news. Gold is getting a bit more of a pullback this time around. Sure, 5-year went lower. 10-year didn't quite make it, but close. More hit into the 30.
Ed Lammy says, hi Seth, what are the settings of your S-range chart? Do you think the same settings are any good to use in ZN? Thank you.
So I'm doing a one range chart, and I find a one range chart really useful in ZN. Dang, I missed that one. I don't know. Well, we'll just let it go. Yeah. So the nice thing about a one range chart in particular is that you get to see every price movement. I'd say that seeing every price movement is probably more useful in the 10-year than it is in the ES. But yeah, that was not good. Mm. Seller has a lot more control than I thought. Gosh dang. Wanted that spot, not that spot. I think it's okay, but yeah, cool. Oh, not quite filled. Darn. Oh, that was terrible. Much better. In fact, I should have canceled that fill. Almost. Hmm. It looks like that they're gonna pop up, but they're being awfully slow about it. And 33 is probably not the safest spot. They do appear to be doing like a consolidation higher sort of a pattern. Not that patterns are super reliable, but Okay. Quite a bit there absorbed in the micro. Or sorry, the mini. Mm-hmm.
Bot says 30-year T-bond finally ticked lower, trying to move beyond 179.16.
Right. I'm noticing that the 5-year is pushing them, but the 10 and the 30 are a little bit more reluctant to go. But their books are both bid. So I didn't know if you caught, but I changed my workspace up a little bit so that I could see all three of them again. And you can kind of see if you look, zoom in. 30-year bid, 10-year bid, 5-year offered. But they switch quite a bit. In particular, there's some spots where the 5 years is doing some funky stuff. I don't know if that's stacking or pulling. I don't know if that's stacking or pulling, but
Bot says 30 can't be that reluctant. It's moved 122 so far this full session.
That time it moved more. But if you have them, all three of them up here, what you'll notice is that this one will go more. I guess it's been different on the pullback, but the 10-year seems to be lagging a bit. Okay. What does that put us at if we exclude? Okay.
Ed Lammy says, how do you get the bars in the range chart background?
So if you go into Discord in the downloads channel, there's a download called multi timeframe bars. There's also a slightly older version of it on futures.io. And you add a second
Bot
chart
says
series.
just thinking the equities will likely remain bid until they find a floor in the treasuries.
Mm-hmm. They anyways, so then you add a second time series with a different time frame. In my case, I'm doing 5 minutes. So I have 5-minute bars there with those multi time frame charts on it. And then when you add it, it will add it below there and you click and drag it up onto your first chart. So what you're really seeing is just 5-minute bars behind. It's pretty cool. The advantage of it, though, is really that it just makes it a lot easier to see where we are at in relation to the open of the various time periods. So I can tell you if we're up or down.
Ed Lammy says, great, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. on a 1, 5, 15, 30 hour, all these things. TechCrunch says, work from home is dead, long live work from anywhere. Ezra Klein is just tweeting a storm here. What the heck is this? Oh, this is about the president's approach. Okay, Donald Trump tweeting something. The Wall Street Journal editorial states that it doesn't want me to act in a quote unquote impulsive manner in Afghanistan. Could somebody please explain to them that we have been there for 19 years, and while soldier counts are way down, hardly impulsive. Besides, the Taliban is mixed about even wanting us to get out. They make a fortune by having us stay, and except for the beginning, we never really fought to win. We are more of a police force than the mighty military that we are, especially now as a rebuilt. No, I am not acting impulsively. Okay. That last trade where now was long, I pulled it for a bit to see if I could get more, and it looks like I could have, but it wasn't going fast enough, so it was like, fine, whatever. This one, I don't know. This one's a little dangerous, but we'll try it. They're squeezing. Oh, they're squeezing. Like they want me to buy 38. Yeah, would have worked. Well, the treasuries aren't exactly hitting into that 29. Now, to John's comment earlier, Bot's comment earlier about equities will likely remain bid until they find a floor in the treasuries. I think that's an interesting look because I see, I don't see like a long-term support on a chart for quite some ways. There could be way more left in this treasury trade. I don't know. Like I was actually looking for that. I don't think that I'm going to get that before I go, but man, I'm glad that I held through that first run though. Okay. It's kind of suggesting that they're going to push it again. The AC is turned on in the room and it feels so nice. What's Donald Trump tweeting now? India, Japan, Britain, Canada, New Zealand, Indonesia, Russia, and all 27 EU member states are backing Australia's push for a probe into the COVID-19 pandemic. And Donald Trump tweets, "We are with them." 13F filings out. These are large investors, how they've modified. We'll look at that later. The so-called HHS whistleblower was against hydrochloroquine. Then, why did he make and sign an emergency use authorization? Said he shared his concerns with a reporter. In other words, he leaked. A dumb 60 Minutes hit job on a grandstanding never Trumper, tweets Donald Trump. They're holding that area there. There might be a little bit more in this. I don't know where our targets are today. I haven't really bothered looking. Let's come and look at it on TradingView. I don't know if they really matter today, but 29.54 where they're looking. Well, we should, do some management here. Would be criminal to let that come all the way back. Bots tweeting a possible floor in ZB. What are you looking for? Yeah, so I was thinking like on a longer term chart here, this area, actually maybe ZB has touched it. They did. 179.10, they touched it in the 30 year. But the 5 and the 10 is like way further. Edward, High, would you short ES here? I mean, what time frame? The one of the assumptions that I'm going with, if you look at my trades, you come and look at my scalps, which I was just practice. Just I should be cautious to reiterate. Not saying that what I'm doing has edge. You should come out break even. Anyways, you look at them, all buys, right? Except for the treasury trade. Yeah. So, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it's not financial advice, because the news story today is that there is a successful trial for a vaccine, even though this doesn't change the timetable on when we should expect to see a vaccine, even though there's a lot of other news stories that seem very negative, the market cares so much about that, and it creates such a knee-jerk reaction that I do not, I'm not going to stand in front of it. So I've been taking scalps long. And I think that because I came out of all of that where it should, I still would like to get another good one or two. I'm just a little I'm probably being too cautious about. So I had a long down in here and it didn't fill. And now I'm kind of going like, Bot saying would want to see a retest of the high hold first. Yeah. All I'm trying to say, John, is that, or bots. I like his real name is John, so call him John. All I'm trying to say is that the technical picture looks very different when you're looking at all of the instruments. There is a pretty significant discrepancy between them, right? when you look at the volume chart, you're seeing this. Oh, look, we came in, we hit this point of control at 179.11. Cool. Target hit. Might see a bounce there. Yeah, I agree. But in 10-year, it's so clear because we're still in single print territory. Actually, we are bouncing off a single print, maybe. Right? But they could still go down another good step. And then when you see it in ZF, it's even more. Yeah? ZF is actually maybe a little closer. Look at him go. Look at the E-mini go. So anyways, Gary Rich says, "Yeehaw, Cowboys! This market is awesome." You know what? I have been having fun scalping it. It's just like It wants me to buy it there. I see that, man. I tell you what, I have such a hard time not taking that one. But in the E-mini, it's not a reliable trade. Full session range is 129. Would like to get to see 201 or 204 for a test that holds before I get excited about a low possibility. Yeah. Well, I'm just watching it right now. I'm interested to see what this 28 does. I mean, the funny thing is that the E-mini, based on the ranges that we've been seeing, E-mini could have another move up in it. Possible. Although my range work says that we're a little. So by the way, Gary, let me show you this picture. Are you looking at the screen? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, here it is. I'll open it up over here. So I was doing our implied realized volatility stuff, and I decided to do a little bit more of an advanced study. And this red line is, I believe, what we've been using. So this is the one where like 60% of trades reach it or whatever. Here, when you go lower, this is just more and more and more, right? So here's a line that I found that pretty much everything hits, and this is basically like your 25% line. But I actually did a little bit of funky math to get that line. And then I got this other line here that it like never hits, but you notice that one only really matters when you have like really low volatility, right? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a NinjaTrader indicator so that like you get this picture and then it will say, okay, today the VIX is this, and it would highlight this one. And then you could draw a line and you could say, okay, so what was it like the other days that we've had VIX this high? Okay, so they did, I want that right there. This may end up being not a great exit. Are you using 252 or 365 days for the square root? Good question. So, the thing is that if you this picture, basically, if I were to change the multiple, the picture doesn't really change. It's just the axes change. So how you scale it like that doesn't necessarily matter, but we would prefer to see something where a 1-to-1 line, which I believe is this one right here, tends to be realized, right? But I found that it was better to use 31 Sorry, so what were we saying? Was this 252? Oh, I don't even know what the... Oh, this calculator doesn't have that. There we go. 15. 19. But I was using 31. I used that picture. I think I was using 31 to generate. But that's where I'm saying, like, really, it's just the scaling of it, you know? So if we just went into NinjaTrader and created an indicator that did a scatter plot for you and showed you which day was today, then you wouldn't have to worry about that kind of math, right? You would only have to worry about calculating based on where I think, like, if you were in here, and you said, well, I think that we can get to there, then you just have to calculate what that is. That makes sense. Oh, look at that. Big old fatty absorption. So it could have gotten one tick better. But let's see if they slip down or not. This is kind of like I actually think if I had more time and I was willing to like go through a pullback and let it go down again, I might wait and see. Because I'm not convinced that they're done for the day. But that could end this swing, like situationally speaking. This kind of volume in here is, that could change things a lot. Yeah, Gary, 31. So the way that I got 31 was I just put it in and like, what do I got to do to get this line to be 1-to-1? So if I drew a line like this, there was a slope of 1. What did I have to do to get it so that, well, I don't even remember now. Anyways, I was just approximating it, and 31 was what it came out to be, which is kind of weird, right? For a month, I guess maybe it's a month, but that's how I got it. My initial thought when I first started doing some stats on it was oh, maybe it's not linear. But when you look at the scatter plot, it looks like a linear function probably is reasonable, right? Like the useful thing is that this bottom line right here, right? There is a spot where you're literally, based on the VIX, it's going to go at least this far. We've already hit that. That's the useful one, and then there's a couple of other things that it kind of tells you, like, so one thing that we did was we did it. Does it work differently if you use the previous day's VIX versus the current day's VIX? And the answer is that the correlation between them is so high that it doesn't really matter. But there is a very, very slight, very, very tiny, small tendency to decrease in volatility overnight. A slight decrease in volatility overnight. So it's probably better to use the current day, but it's not a huge deal. Anyways, there's things like that. I didn't get into, like, is it different Fridays, or that was kind of what prompted me to do it, because I was wondering on Friday, hey, like, are they going to go and do this? But they did. Yeah, look at that big iceberg at 28. With 365 square root, it's 68% in the distribution. Yeah, if you're using 19, yeah. Well, when you look at it, you know, you don't even have to go up very far to get most of them. That's the thing that's crazy about it. Is like there's this spot, right? Do you see it right there? There's this line right here where like there will always go more than that. But then when you get to this line right here, right? There's so much stuff right in here that you're already covering most cases. So you really have to get far out here before you get to price levels. So like this one I think was 60% right here. This line was 60%, I believe. So you still had to go like way out here to get to levels that like only, that were less than half of them hit. If that makes sense. Sometimes it's a little hard to wrap my head around because we're doing a little bit of like transversal flipping things around in our heads to correlate between this and the bands that we're normally looking at, but I just run the stat on the thing. Yeah. 68% of the time it's expected move for the day, but not guaranteed due to 32%. Yeah. Well, I think what I need to do now is I need to make a distribution profile to say, because we can't really see here. I want to know like what is the true well, this was based on max excursion. But what is it based on close? I don't know if close matters, but because the thing that I find interesting about this is that when we look at the line that we were looking at that was like our 50% of them hit and or our 50% line and our 100% line or whatever, we were seeing order flow at that location. Like when it hit that number, stuff was happening. People were stopping out. You could do a from open to close analysis. Yeah, how far is it from the open to close? Rather, this is how far is it from the open to the furthest that it went either direction during the whole day. But like it's pretty simple code. And I've got it all in the stat suite and everything. So like if you have NinjaTrader, you can mess around with it. But like really we can do it any way that you guys want. But I think that the next thing that I want to do is make a scatter plot in NinjaTrader. So I think that would be the most useful thing. You would get this little dot, right? It would start out, it'd be clear like this. There wouldn't be any lines on it. And it would draw you a little dot and it would say, okay, today's VIX is this right here. So now I know it's probably going to go at least to here. And what's that? And then, okay. Then there's these ones up here that are too far. Comparison. Might be different if we had way more data. I was only doing 2 years worth of data. Could probably go back further. But it wasn't giving me VIX data further back than that, unfortunately. I'm going to close it now. That last one, I missed another long, but kind of hard taking it up here. It's okay. I think that we made enough on our scalps. We did need to get out of that 10-year trade. Where did it go? See, I did get out. It did go a tick lower, but
Gary Rich says working on a every 4 hours per session, the formula and calculations are hard.
That's interesting. Well, the thing that I thought was interesting about the scatter plot too was that you can approximate a function for it. You know, like you can go into R and you can tell it, okay, is there a linear function for it? Is there a geometric function for it? And it will try and guess it. So, you know, you can use that and you might find something that curve fits at least. But of course, you would really want to see something that you have a formula based on fundamentals and your understanding of markets, and then it comes out, and then you see that there is that you're seeing in the data exactly what you expect to see on the graph. Like that's the way that the Bitcoin valuation in formula worked. Was I said this is what it should be based off of my understanding of the market, and when you graph it out, it shows you exactly what I wanted to see, which was points where it's clearly overbought and clearly oversold. They're just saying like just keep buying it, Seth. Just keep buying it. Look right there at 29.44 and 3/4. Where are we at now relative to that big high? Okay, so the high is 29.46. We think that they might get 29.50. There's still like this resistance up there at 29.64. Your scatter plot is a good start. Yeah. I quite like it. I was quite happy with how it turned out. Hmm.
Bot says ZB testing 200 for the full session range.
Mm-hmm. It did go lower, didn't it? When we were talking earlier, we were at 11, right? But here's the thing: I don't know if the 10-year is actually going to make it to this spot that I'd see targeted. I mean, look at the iceberg there. That's a big iceberg at 28. There's that. I mean, that's got to be somebody really big taking a profit. I don't know if that's going to stop it, but whew, 24.5 was the spot that I was looking at that I thought was interesting. That was kind of my target. But, you know, I got plenty from it. Man, that humidity's just not stopping. They're kind of making me a little nervous. So, like, my internals aren't showing that it has to revert yet, but that was such an insane uptrend. This just does not look like a balanced market. Or rather, the 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 probability of them overextending on the upside is starting to increase. You get a trend like that, man. It's just a little too rosy, I feel. I don't know. Sure is crazy. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen ES move like this. Well, I take that back. Maybe back at the lows, like that day when we rose 10%, that kind of looked like this. Cumulative delta seems flat against this move up. Yeah. Well, you know what I think is going to happen, Jack? There are shorts. There is definitely, based on the open interest, according to Mr. Brannigan. Here, let me go back and find that tweet and read that tweet. Okay. Don't know what the ESF cash chart means, but clearly the 200-day moving average is playing an interesting role in decision-making. Gap up today should not be ignored. If we scale above 2960, it's game on for a short squeeze given aggressive shorts as per CFTC open interest. So he is pointing out that there are a lot of shorts up here and that these people are going to be like it's going to be really, really ugly for them if it gets above the previous high and these moving averages and everything. So I think that he's pointing out something that is really important for us to pay attention to. Positionings, right? Positioning always matters. So if we're getting a short squeeze, you could see it move up very easily against it. And, shorts panicking and then eventually a stop run when they really reach their limit. That move down there had some way more volume to it and cumulative delta. Like this looks to me very much like a day where it's like it moves up, all of those guys stop out, and then it flips and goes right back the other way, right? Stop out all of the shorts first, and then it can fall. Because right now there's not enough people to sell it. They all sold it already. You know what I mean? I think that's what's going on. Hold on, you're probably saying more stuff in here. Some days you sound like Scotty from Star Trek. There's an iceberg there, Captain. I don't know if she can handle it. Yeah. Well, she did. I mean, look, it stopped it there for at least for now, right? I'm telling you, in the 10-year is very consistent. The 10-year is very consistent with this stuff. When you get something like that, sorry, let me draw it better. When you get something like that, they might be able to go through it for 2 ticks, but that, especially after a long trend, that is basically a big guy that was short saying, okay, I got my target and I'm taking it off. And sometimes they pause there and they keep barreling through, and sometimes they don't. But given the amount of time that I want to be in the trade and everything, I'm going to have to. I think that getting out there was the right thing to do. I probably could have gotten a point lower, but Friday's action was wild. The news drove it down and reversed, clearly machine driven. Oh, Gary, Friday was so weird too, right? Because it's happened this way many times because it happened on Thursday too, right? They sold at the beginning and then the selling petered out and moved higher. And there was significant absorption there as well. It really looks to me like I mean this happens, but I really think that the shorts might be right, but because of the way that they've been playing it, they're not able to get it, right? If too many people come into the trade early, then it has to reverse on you first before it goes through. Otherwise, who's going to sell it, right? And so instead, what's happened is these buyers just buy into them and go and stop them out. And then maybe if they stop them out and all of those buyers are gone, then maybe we get into a position where there's only people that are willing to sell and we can turn down and we can actually get some real momentum down again. Sellers not wanting to sell with the news, but yeah, just the fact that there is a vaccine today, we could get a pullback. Like this move could retrace for sure, but I wouldn't. I'm not a seller just on that alone. Let them take, eat it up for a day or two. Then maybe cooler heads will prevail and we'll decide where we actually valued, because I don't think that matters. They were chopping at it, then fake it, then reverse up or down. Oh yeah. Well, and when they sold, it was so aggressive. It was very much like everybody's sitting there waiting to sell it, but they're not quite seeing the spot where they can really jump on it. And then they finally get that trend down that they want, and they all jump on it, and then it gets down there and it just magically stops. Like those bottoms haven't been like fast reversals or anything like that. It'll come down, there'll be a bunch of absorption in that spot. We'll wait to see where we're going to go, and then this incredible uptrend will just come and take us back up. Like magic. Like the plunge protection team is there waiting. This is what happened. Is Jerome Powell, he talked to his buddies over at the CFTC and the SEC, and he said, well, we need to buy it. So tell all of the banks to buy it here if it goes down this much. And all of the banks see it that goes down there, and they go, all right, boys, this is where they told us to buy it. I mean, I don't know the exact one, but I think that there's a high percentage chance of, yeah. Okay, so Gary asks, are you applying the 10-year VIX for treasuries? I haven't gone that far yet. Oh, you know what? I actually forgot, because I was using somebody let me borrow their data so that I could get the VIX into NinjaTrader and do it. And I'm pretty sure I did find a way to pull it up for the 10-year. But I'm wondering now, because I'm with CQG, and with CQG I can pay $7 to get VIX data. But I wonder if that gives me more. After the stream, I will go and ask AMP if it gives me other stuff, because I want to see, not only do I want to see the 10-year VIX, but I also want to see the put call ratio. So, because yeah, are we done here in treasuries or not? I don't know. I'm just getting order flow signal to say that they're going to pause here at least. And if I'm only going to be around for another 10 minutes, then it behooves me to get out, right? Macron and Merkel propose to authorize the European Commission to fund recovery by borrowing through financial markets in the EU's name. Oh. By the way, I can see gold is taking another dip and looks like it may be about to go and make another new low. Trump advisor says fourth stimulus package may not be necessary. Well, I would have to say that given the way the markets are reacting right now, that no stimulus is necessary. Top media union launches Save the News campaign, urging Congress to financially help news outlets. No, listen. You're the news, and if you're not making money, then fuck you. You've been so irresponsible. Yeah, they don't maybe going a little bit too much into my own personal opinion, but I don't think they should get money. Okay, so they're going to go for that 50 now. Look at them go. Woo. Can you hit into 27.5? Can you hit 27.5 in the 10-year? do it. Might just go dun dun dun. Can happen. That's kind of the way that they've been doing it. Well, that's kind of the way that sells in the 10-year work, right? Hmm. Well, they didn't touch 50, not quite yet. The target that I had was 54, but thinking about if there's anything else that really needs to be said about this move, but I feel like that I already kind of overly expressed my feelings on it. You know what I mean? Like I understand what it's supposed to do and I know what it's going to do, but it doesn't mean I'm comfortable with it, you know? Man, I've not seen a trend like that. That's a wacky move. Okay, there's 50. Well, I mean, maybe I should have tried to swing it in ES, but I think that what would have happened is if I had decided not to take the trade in the treasury and I had taken it in the equities instead, then maybe I would have held that one. But at the time, when I was looking at it, the equities were already up really good, and the treasuries were kind of skidding along um, support. So, in my view, it was a better risk reward proposition in the treasuries. And I don't know, like probably would have made more in the treasure in the equities, right? $171, and it moved. Well, where were we when this all started? 28. Let's say it moved 25 points. So I actually would have made more on the E-mini, especially if you're using multiple contracts. Especially like you're bang for your buck, like the amount of leverage that you're putting on. You got more from the equities, so maybe we should have done it at the 25. Though when we started here, man, there was a couple of those in the 30 area where we lost on the shorts. I've got to work on that. I'm not quite sure what I've got to do to see. Actually, I think I do. I don't know why I wasn't looking at it. You know what the other interesting thing is that today was like this week has been going back to one of the principles that I based because I was reading Gary Norton this weekend. Is being able to see all of the different parts of the market and how they're interconnected and what they're doing. So I made sure that I got the 60. Look at the 60 go. 60, 6J, gold, all of the treasuries with all of the data on it, which I do think was useful. And then I've got all of the internals. So I got tick, trend, advanced decline, up volume, down volume. I don't have the VIX, but I would have that if I had the data for it right now. So like I had all of those things on there. And then what happened? Like we got this huge trend, and I don't think that any of that stuff mattered, and I didn't even look at any of it. So look, so the 54 was the price that I put out. Yeah, talk about a move. You know, another thing is that the area that we came out of in ES between 25 and 30, 32, super chippy choppy. And then when that was done with, nothing but uptrend. Literally nothing but uptrend. Curious. 05's looking for floor. Yeah, look, I really could have held it, huh? But look, what I'd be getting out right now, like 24.5 is my target. The 2 and 10-year spread is above the 5-year temporarily. If it stay higher for a quarter, not a good sign. Fed Treasury are doing everything to bring down those inversions. Oh yeah. Okay, let's go back and look at this. So here is 2s and 10s on the bottom here. Steepening. Okay, well, I mean, it's been really flat for a while, but so I guess that it makes sense that that one would maybe steepen, but typically steepening is not bullish, right? It's not risk on. ZB, look at ZB. Steepening, okay? Now remember, we go way back, okay? Steepening is bad. Steepening means that they expect the interest rates to not be as good in the future, to not be as high in the future. When it goes down, when it flattens, that means it's good. That means that they're expecting interest rates to rise until it gets too low, and then it ends up being a bad thing, and that's when it kind of turns around, right? So to come back over to here and to see it moving back up is a little weird. Is my take on that correct, Gary? Is that kind of what you're trying to say? ZF went and touched it, 16. I really think the 10-year is going to make it. Anyways, think about that one, bots. If you're gonna look for a price level like that, check all three. I think you check all three because the 10-year's been lagging, and I think high chance that they're gonna make it to 24.5 now that they've got beaten through 28. So I didn't really expect it to move in this last 30 minutes, but the 10-years for pussies. That's 10 years where the big boys play, yo. But I mean, you could have taken it off on the other side, right? If the 10-year hasn't correctly priced it in, then there's a pretty good chance that the 10-year is going to keep dragging it down, and that the ZF can go down, right? Because when we were looking at it, we were looking at like 11, right? When you were saying maybe a little bit of a bounce, and then we'll see where it can go. I mean, you would have missed out on a lot. But that's also because the 30-year it was just maybe a little too high anyways, because everybody's been piling into the longer end of the curve. Okay, well, the E-mini is turning back down again. When they sell, the cumulative delta like really goes for some reason. Testing 24. Well, let's see if the So I read Gary Norton this evening or over the weekend because I got his book An End to the Bull. I'm kind of on this this kick where it's like, so go and read my thread on Futures.io about the term technical analysis has become useless. I think some of the responses in that thread just kind of confirm what I've been saying, is that people don't want to use the term technical analysis the way that it was intended to be used. The term technical analysis was intended to mean data generated from the market as opposed to fundamentals, as opposed to fundamental investing, right? So they were saying you don't have to look at fundamentals. You can just look at the data generated from the market, and because of patterns generated in the market, you can make money, right? So anything, moving averages, all these things in that definition of technical analysis, all of those things are technical analysis. And everybody wants to come in and make up some excuse for how what they do is not technical analysis. Well, I think the reality is that probably there are no profitable traders out there that are just looking at technical analysis. You're always going to at least look at news, right? Know certain things about the markets and the way the business works that gives you a little bit of an edge here and there, right? Always going to be things like that. So I started looking at it from a perspective of, okay, so like, where am I actually deriving my edge from? How can I improve that? When I'm just looking at certain technicals, that doesn't seem to be enough. So we need to kind of take a little bit wider view. And so when I factored in the news that was going on, and then I looked at the technicals, and that gave me a really good idea of where I thought it was going to go. And so my theory was the 10-year is going to go down to its naked point of control at 138.24 half. So that was the theory. So I took that, I kind of calculated what my risk reward was going to be and just held it. I think that if I could sit here and wait longer, I would hold it to see if I get filled at 24.5. It looks really good right now to me. But we'll see if they actually make it. I think that I still have to watch technicals to see if they really care. Like if I start seeing like really significant absorption down in this area, then maybe that doesn't make much sense. There's definitely a lot of volume at 28, right? So this might have just been they busted through it and then a little bit lower, and maybe they don't make it there, right? But overall, that was my thinking, and the way that he described it, because the thing that I was wondering is like, how do you set your stop? How do you know when it's far enough, and all of these things? And his theory was not like that at all. His theory was, here's where I think it's going to go, and here's how much risk we have to take in order to be able to have a chance at holding it down to that area. So that's what I did, and today it worked out. John Bot says, we talked back here. Take a picture. Yeah, it definitely moved lower. I feel like I was right. I don't know. Part of it bots here is that I think that your analysis on these is so good that I want to see you do it on all three of them. Because I really think that there is something to when you watch the three of them together, you can refine your technical analysis and get a better idea of where it's going to go. And then you add the spreads on top of that and you do the analysis on the spreads. Although I don't know if that's too useful on the spreads right now, because I can't really explain why it's steepening. Well, actually, I think I can. I think that it's steepening because too many people have gotten into the longer end of the curve, and now that the equity markets are really, really risk on, they have to get out of that. And that's why the spread isn't necessarily going in the direction that it normally would. I think that that's why it's happening. But I digress. Gary Seth, I thought about you. If I only had 2 hours to trade, how would I develop a strategy to maximize the 2 hours? Yeah. Well, those 2 hours in particular. Like a lot of it to me is looking at those specific times and what are the things that happen in those specific times that we can take advantage of, right? I think that I need to spend more time on, well, not more time. I don't want to say like it's not like I'm doing that, but I think that I need to do a little bit more trying to understand things that aren't generated by the market, right? Like we've done a lot of technical analysis. I am adding these internals that I think will help. But today, that wasn't what helped me. Today, what helped me was knowing that there was a vaccine trial that was successful. And even if that doesn't change anything, the market just likes to hear that there was a vaccine trial. And so people are going to buy no matter what. That was the edge today. You know what I mean? So I think refining my edge on news could be really useful. I think refining my edge in terms of how the treasury business works and when they need to hedge themselves, I think that would be really useful. And then I can use my edge in terms of reading the level 2 and even just the larger technical analysis and statistics that we do. You know, that can be up. And I think that the places where I'm going to have edge is going to be more in my ability to look at the bigger picture. Maybe. Anyways, I think Gary was going to say something else, but I probably got to go now. So, what the word peeps mean? Well, peeps are a candy that people typically eat at Easter. Real money is not made by thinking about the market or even being right about the market. Real money is made by being in the market, having size on, and catching the big move. Yes, but what is it that you're going to do that's going to catch you the big move? Because, in my opinion, figuring out the game that's being played, but don't deceive yourself into thinking you have it all figured out. Well, I certainly don't have it all figured out. I mean, the bigger thing here is that a lot of the things that I'm looking at don't have enough edge to really create the sort of things that I'm looking to try and get. You know, like if I want to catch a big upswing like that, and I'm just looking at, I don't know, any number of technical analysis things that I look at on the chart, that alone, because any other day, it could turn back around on you, or, you know, it might turn around and stop you out first, right? So I think that the edge that can be provided to you from information generated by the markets alone can only take you so far. So I think that we need to utilize some of the more fundamental sides of our analysis to identify those situations where we really want to get involved. And today was a good example. The rest of the week might not be such a good example, because the rest of the week I don't know if there's going to be big news, you know? Always allow for the possibility you're wrong and the other guy is right. It's essential trait, but in the end, think less and trade more. Yeah, so, well, I don't know about trade more. I don't. So in Gary Norton's book, he says that he doesn't like the mentality of people saying, I'm willing to risk this much, and if I lose that, I'm okay with that. The London close was at 29.49.50. Okay. They have been selling since then. I guess maybe after the London close, that might have been part of the rally there. Anyways, he was saying, it's like you're willing to lose this much, then you will. That it's taking a loser mentality, and that you need to take the mentality of, I'm going to be right. So instead, his mentality is, this is where I'm going, where I want it to go. And if it doesn't go there, then I'm either wrong or I'm early. I think that works. I think we can run with that. I really want to buy his other course. I don't know if I want to spend $1,000 on a thing, but I want to know what he has to say about the scalping. I want to, I don't know if I could do it and make money off of it, but it's knowledge that is not very common anymore and that needs to be passed on, and I want to have it. Anyways, I'm yapping, guys. I got 5 minutes. I got to be in a meeting, so I will see you guys tomorrow. See what the rest of the week brings. In the meantime, stay profitable.